Today on The Young and the Restless, Audra and Nate discuss next steps. Sally makes a decision, and Jack asks Diane to marry him now. In Sally's suite, she and Nick have tea as he lays out his plans for the day. She thanks him for spending the night. They kiss. Sally has something to ask before he goes. Victor's offer for me to work at Newman. I really would like to know what you think. Nick is surprised she'd even consider it. She was adamant about never working for a Newman again. Sally's realized that her motivation was about him and Adam. A lot has changed since then. Nick replies, because of Ava. Sally nods. Losing Ava has changed the dynamic. Nick tells Sally she suffered a terrible loss and should take as much time as she needs to decide how to proceed. Sally's being practical and Victor's offer is far better than what she has with Jill and Lily. Nick asks if she thinks she can trust his dad enough to take the risk of working for him. Sally has to figure out what the best deal is for her and Chloe. Victor's offer gives us much more than the slow build at Chancellor Winters. Nick warns it's never that simple when it comes to his dad. Sally admits there's another motivation in all of this. The fact that Victor offered me this position himself means a lot to me. She'd love to be able to turn his opinion of her around. She doesn't feel good being out of his favor when she's dating Nick. I really want him to be able to trust me. She worries it could be a manipulation, and Nick says there's always that chance with his father, even when he's offering something good. At the ranch, Victor is on a video call with Jill and tells her the tribute to Neil was very moving. Jill says he's very missed. She likes to think of him and Catherine up in heaven swapping stories and gossiping about the rest of them. She asks for the reason he called. Victor relays that he's offered Sally a more permanent position at Newman Enterprises. Jill will tell Lily they'll have to come up with a contingency plan. Victor says he's already hired a design firm to replace Sally. Jill questions his change of heart on the redhead. Victor has decided he needs to keep her closer to the family. Jill guesses he wants to keep a watchful eye on her. Victor smiles. In the corporate suite, Nate answers a knock at the door. It's Audra. She saw a suit delivered for him downstairs and brought it up. She knows this is a big deal for him. Victoria and Nikki are out of town, and he's filling the void. She's really happy for him. Nate thanks her and she goes. At the Abbott house, Jack thanks Billy for coming by. Diane reveals she has an idea about how to protect Jabbat. They sit, and Diane says that Ashley and Tucker think they're walking away with half the company. They need to lull them into a false sense of security that it might actually happen. To achieve that, they need to stage a fight between Billy and Jack. Billy sees the angle. They make them believe he could be an ally. He gets inside and destroys them from within. Soap stars and their doppelgangers. Jack still has concerns. He doesn't like putting Billy in an untenable situation. This could stigmatize him in the business community. Billy's unconcerned about that when it comes to protecting his father's legacy. Diane doesn't see another option. Jack warns when they start this there is no turning back. They discuss how to sell a fight. Billy will say Jack is obsessed with Diane and will feed them false information. Jack hopes Billy won't get sucked in when they offer him a position of power. Billy complains if Jack doesn't trust him. Why are they having this conversation? At Crimson Lights, Adam spots Nate and cracks, nice suit. He's heard he's steering the ship at Newman while the boss is out of town. You have certainly been busy maneuvering your way into the inner circle. Nate's heard that Adam's interested in absorbing Newman Media and warns they're a powerhouse. What you're planning will never happen. At the ranch, Victor welcomes Nate and says he's looking sharp. They discuss Nikki and Victor heading out of town. Victor wanted to make a few things clear and warns him not to get too comfortable in the big chair. He's been very upfront about admiring his ambition and his drive to succeed, but he can tell him that Newman Enterprises will never be led by anyone but a Newman. It was a sticking point in the past, including with Neil. He doesn't want any confusion in case Nate has any grandiose ideas about the future. It ain't gonna happen. Sally walks into Crimson Lights and is greeted by Adam. She returns his greeting and says Nick told her he came by the suite last night. He asks after her sister and grandmother. She says they're good and asked about him. Adam hopes she's feeling better. Sally needed a reset and seeing them helped put things in perspective. She asks if that's why he came by last night. Adam says no, but he realized it was a mistake. She knew he was there and ignored him but opened the door to Nick. It was me you didn't want to see. Sally explains she was already in bed, she wasn't avoiding him. She asks Adam what he wanted to talk about. They sit, and Adam says he had a bad encounter with Chance last night, and his instinct was to come and find her so she could calm him down. Old habits die hard. Sally tells him that while she was away, she got to talk to her family about everything that happened and the position he was put into having to choose between her and the baby. Adam knows her reaction to him was because she was grieving. Sally says, "You were too." Her sister and Grams thought she should be kinder, and she agrees. Talk turns to his business with Sharon and Nick. It's their mission to keep him on the straight and narrow, a path he's not comfortable on. At the Abbott house, Billy and Jack argue and Diane intervenes. Jack just wants to be sure his brother won't backslide. Billy assures him that won't happen. Jack has to look at every angle and possible pitfall. Billy understands. He tells him they can use these feelings to make the plan work. Diane protests that this isn't supposed to be for real. The last thing they need is another family war. Nate enters the office at Newman and looks at the CEO chair before settling in it. He feels the desk and Nick appears, trying it on for size. He asks, "Where's Vic?" Nate explains they're out of town and Victoria asked him to handle things while they're gone. Nick bets he didn't hesitate a bit. Nate wonders if he'd expect him to turn down a request from his boss. Nick complains about his ambition. Nate's tired of being on the receiving end of his attacks. Be honest. What would it take to knock this massive chip off your shoulder? He won't apologize for his rise. Nick replies, "Your rise at my expense." Nate wonders if he sees everything as a slight. He thinks Nick fell out of favor in his own family and is taking it out on him. His lack of ambition has landed him where he is. Nick warns him to stop testing him. Nate warns him to stop taking out his frustrations on him and leave him to do the job his sister and father expect him to do. Nick walks out. At the Abbott house, Billy, Diane, and Jack settle on their plan. Billy will be in touch about the time and place for their upcoming display of anger. Diane tells Jack that with any luck, this will be the end of the family battle. They embrace. Later, Diane finds Jack looking pensive. She says Harrison is excited about their upcoming wedding. Jack doesn't smile. Diane was hoping that would distract him, but she can see things are still weighing on him. Jack is just conflicted about going through with this. No part of him takes any joy in deceiving Ashley. There's real potential in the plan, but he hates that they're even in this situation. He knows Diane blames herself. But this is on Ashley. Diane knows Ashley thinks she'll hurt Jack, but she won't let her hurt the family company. Jack tells Diane he loves her so much. She loves him too. Jack muses. "In fact, I have an idea." At Crimson Lights, Sally thinks it might be good for Adam to take the straight and narrow path and try not to see Nick as the enemy. Adam sighs. "Of course you'd say that. You're in love with Nick. You are in love with Nick, right?" Sally wonders if he really wants her to say it. Adam asks if Nick's told her he loves her. Sally warns he's veering into rough waters. Adam apologizes. He's just happy she's speaking to him at all. Sally says they still have a long way to go. She has news to share and reveals that it seems Victor is changing his opinion of her and offered her a design job at Newman. She notes Nick seems quite suspicious. Adam says, "We know our father well." He wonders if she's asking his advice. Sally says, "Maybe I am." Adam guesses Victor wants to keep Sally around to keep an eye on her. Sally says Nick thinks the same thing and notes how often they're on the same page when it comes to their father. Nick appears and Sally says she'll leave them to get to work. Before she leaves, she tells them she's made a decision. "I am going to consider taking Victor up on his offer." At the GTAC, Nate updates Victoria by phone as Billy walks in. Nate disconnects and Billy says he couldn't help but overhear his conversation. "It's impressive, your ability to combine work and pleasure with Victoria." Nate points out that he did the same with Lily. He thinks this is jealousy and muses that Victoria is a remarkable woman. Billy says she's the mother of his children and he'll always watch out for her. Nate opines that anyone who thinks she needs coddling never really knew her at all. Audra joins Nate in the office at Newman, and he complains it hasn't been a smooth day. He tells her about Nick's visit. He also had a conversation with Victor in which he made it clear that a non-Newman would never run the company. Despite that, he won't let Victoria down. He'll continue to make himself indispensable. Audra reminds him this is just the beginning. The next step is for him to solidify his relationship with Victoria and take things to the next level. At Crimson Lights, Nick respects Sally's decision, but he asks if Adam had anything to do with it. She says his opinion was the same as his. They're more alike than they think. She thinks this will be great for her career and a personal challenge as well. At the Abbott house, Jack doesn't want to wait until September to marry Diane. He wants to go to the Justice of the Peace and make her Mrs. Jack Abbott. Let's do this now. Let's show the whole world how in love we are and that nothing will bring us down. Diane kisses him.